But just want you to know that when the offering basket comes by, there'll be a card in it like this. It's called a connection card. And if you pick it up and just give us your contact information, particularly your email, we will be able to send you things like, heads up, 35,000 Jehovah's Witnesses are coming to the University of Washington this weekend. Please plan your parking. Things like that. And also a midweek spiritual practice that Reverend Kathy Ann sends out so we can be together in virtual community through the week as well. And those of us who have found our way here many times were given a heads up by our friends and our family. That's how we found CSL. So that's why we ask folks, if you have a smartphone here in the service, just put on your Facebook page, hey, I'm at the Center for Spiritual Living. We're having a great time. That's a way to spread the word. And maybe your friends, your family will say, tell me a little more about that. And that's how we find each other. Another really great thing that CSL does is it donates to the nonprofit community. Beginning in the fall, our donations start. So it's $100 per nonprofit per Sunday. And we, the congregation, we are the ones that nominate who those community groups are going to be. And today is the deadline for the nominations. So if you have a favorite nonprofit that you would like to see getting a donation, go to the Create a Better World table, which is right outside the lobby, and fill out that form. Then a congregate community is going to go through all those nominations and select the ones that will get our donations, and we will see them each Sunday. We'll have a little notice. So we'll be able to recognize you as the nominee and the organization. And finally, we recognize every person in our community at least once a year for their birthdays. So would you stand if your birthday was last week or this week? We'll give you a gift.
And continuing in prayer, let us go deeper into ourselves and find that place of peace where we release all of our concerns, our plans, our activities for the day, and just be quiet with the source. Allow that presence to move into your awareness with all of its love and peace and harmony. Let's take a few moments now to sit in that peace. And in coming back, let us just remember that that's there all the time when we want it to lift us up and make us free. And so it is.
All right. Reverend Stephen's in the house. So much joy. Thank you. Thank you. It is my pleasure to be able to introduce Reverend Sharon Ramey. Now, sometimes we do this for our traveling guest speakers and not always for our homegrown local guest speakers. And I want to make a change that we are honoring the people that we have grown and are blossoming here in their ministry, and Sharon is certainly an example of that. Sharon has been on staff for 9 years at the Center for Spiritual Living, and in that, yes, And we were in ministerial school together, and we spoke among ourselves, and we said, that Sharon is going to manifest something amazing through her, and she has. So her joy is in the areas of business and prosperity. And she was one of the leaders of the business ministry and now one of the founders of the Wealth Now ministry, which she'll talk about more. But she encourages all of us to experience and to express more good in our life. And this is her vision. She sees a world of freedom and empowerment where all of us discover that our success and our prosperity, as well as the world's success and prosperity, comes from within. So, here to share more about that with us is Reverend Sharon. Let's give her a warm CSL welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm not used to being introduced like that. That was pretty cool. We had just went to Kathy Ann's receiving workshop, and so I'm just trying to, receive that. So thank you, Reverend Deb, and thank you all. Thank you all for being so welcoming. For those of you who know me, you know I love this community. I absolutely love this community. It's just been a source not only of great growth for me, but a source of great joy too. So thank you. So I'm here because Kathy Ann is not. She is on a well-deserved vacation. She's on a sabbatical. And isn't that a wonderful way to give us a role model of somebody who takes care of themselves, right? So I appreciate Reverend Kathy Ann for that, but more so for letting me speak. This is so cool. So thank you, Reverend Kathy Ann. And this month is about freedom, right? The theme is about freedom. And so I was trying to think about what to talk about, and the first thing that came to me was the truth will set you free. And then all these little voices from childhood came up when my parents would say things like, the Bible says the truth will set you free. I'm thinking, does that mean at 4 years old I have to tell that I stole a piece of candy from the store? Does that mean as a teenager that I need to fess up and tell Dad who really put a dent in the car? Does that mean as a grown-up that I have to admit that I was the one that made that mistake at work, or maybe if I don't say anything, no one will know? Because the truth will set you free, to me, didn't mean anything except the truth will get you punished and not be a very good thing, right? But how many of us have discovered that when we actually do fess up or tell the truth about something like that, that there is a sense of freedom about it? Yes? Thank you. Lyndon, you've got it. Okay, Lyndon, say that out loud. Yes, there we go. So when I ask you something and the answer is yes, what you're going to say is? Yes. Love it. So anyway, I had this idea of what the truth will set you free meant, and it wasn't very pretty. Then it occurred to me, as I've been doing more studying around this, that that we are called to a higher and higher truth all the time. That really there's a gradation of truth. That means that, for example, I teach a lot of prosperity classes. So I have people come into my prosperity class just in panic because they have no money. They're like, I just have nothing. I have no money in my account. I don't have a way to make it, and the rent is coming up. Okay? Did anybody know people like that? So that, yes. Thank you, God. So is that their truth right then? Is that like the truth of what they're experiencing? Yeah. Yeah, it is the truth of what they're experiencing. They're in panic because they have no money. Now, what about if they were called through maybe somebody offering them a job or something. What if they were called to step forward to a higher truth that said, you know what, if you work hard, you can make some money? Do any of you remember back in your first jobs? I remember back in mine where I worked in a medical laboratory, and I was blessed with the job of cleaning out the old urine and blood test tubes. I was ecstatic because I had stepped forward into this new truth that said, if you work hard at something, you can make $1.50 an hour and be free. And so I was so excited because I felt free. Do you see how going from that truth of I don't have any money to go out with my friends or pay for gas, going to that truth of, whoo, now I got some money and I feel free. Do you see how that was a truth? Is that the highest truth I'll ever get to? Probably not. I'm not washing out test tubes anymore. So then you can feel now, at the time when I was back here in the I don't have any money, the thought that I could work really hard and make money didn't seem possible, because who's going to hire me at 16 years old and blah, 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 right? So I had to face the fact that it felt impossible and know that I could trust in God and something would show up, and something did. Okay? Got that? Okay, you see how truth is working now? Okay, now, that truth might morph into, as I get comfortable in that might morph into another truth, a new truth that says, guess what? You can earn money and you don't have to work hard. Does that feel like freedom? Do you see the truth will set you free? Has anybody ever tried to go from working hard to trying to entertain the idea that you could make as much money and not have to work hard, and maybe make twice as much money and not have to work hard? Has anybody ever tried to go to that new truth? Okay, did it feel almost impossible when you said? That's the key. When you're claiming a new truth that's a big challenge for you, it's going to feel impossible. It's going to feel impossible. But that's the good part, because the other part of that truth is I trust in God that something is going to work out and make this new truth happen. You got that? Okay, so we're going from this truth to this one, to this one. And then how about you get somebody that says, oh, not only am I, like Don Beatty, not only am I making twice the money in half the time, but now I want it to be something that I love. Do you see how there's not much space for more truth here? Let's go back here, okay? So how about if I made that same amount of money, worked that same half time, and did something that I love? Does that feel like a more free truth? Okay, that might feel impossible. That's okay, because where we go with that is the corollary to that, which says, in God I trust, right? And stuff will work out. Now, there might even be another truth after that. For example, my husband, could you please stand up and like twirl around and show everyone who you are? My husband is one of my all-time heroes, because he got to the point where he was making a lot of money, doing what he loved to do, not really working a lot, was he, Scarlett? Yeah, he wasn't really working a lot, and he was making a lot of money, and he was doing what he loved. But then there was this call to a new truth that said, now you're called to take what you know and share it with the world. And at first that felt impossible to him. He's like, what? And yet he kept hearing the call, and he kept thinking, well, how am I going to make any money at that? And then he heard the call, don't do it for money. You will be supplied. Does that feel impossible? Yeah. But you know what? He does it, and it's working. He has stepped forward to that higher truth of saying, okay, Spirit, I'll go forth and share what I know, and I know that somehow I'm going to be sourced so profusely. And he is. Thank you, God. No, thank you, Paul. Right? Right. So here's what I want to tell you. Oftentimes we hear things in this philosophy that says, here you are, I have no money. Just jump up here to the final truth that you give what you can to the world. You give your highest good to the world, and you will be supplied. And sometimes it's hard to go there, isn't it? When you're back here, it's hard to go up here in one jump. Now, there are those who have been able to do it. There are those. But my process has been more of going from truth to higher truth. And my higher truth every time is to say, wow, I feel called to this. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how it's going to happen. I trust in God that it's possible and that God will make it happen. Do you see that that is the higher truth? Yes. Got it? So we're all clear. We all know that the truth will set us free, because at every stage you can feel freer. But you don't have to jump to the end at once. So now let's talk about how does this relate to the idea of freedom and the idea of freedom for our country? Well, when the first people started immigrating over to this country, people from, all sorts of other countries, and they started first coming in. Why did they come here? Freedom. Freedom. What? Why? Freedom from what? From persecution? Hunger? What? Religion, religious freedom. So they came here for a lot. Do you see how they were back in their old countries feeling like this? And they thought, let's go to this land where we can start a new life and we can be free in all these ways. And do you think that it was probably maybe feeling a little impossible, a little challenging to get on that boat? Yeah, I think so. But what did they say? In God we trust that this is possible. We want so much to have a new idea of freedom that we are willing to do what it takes. We're willing to risk this and that and the other thing in order to have this experience of freedom. So you got this country that's full of people standing right here. Was there a higher truth they were called to? Yes. Because right back here, even though they came to this country, what they discovered is they were being ruled by the King of England, so far away, who was just making rules about taxation and rules about the soldiers being able to come and stay in their homes, and rules about how much they could take from the colonists. And at this point, the place that used to feel like freedom now felt like bondage, didn't it? So a few people were called together to say, we don't agree with that anymore. We think there's another possibility, a new freedom that we could step into. A freedom where we don't have a king anymore, where we rule ourselves. That was never done before. Do you think they were scared to come and stand here? Let me tell you, the king had a lot of soldiers. They risked death. They risked failure. They risked that this was going to be a lot of hard work to take it from here to here, right? And they all said, in God we trust. In God we trust that this new possibility could be our reality. And they banded together in the midst of a lot of people saying, oh, I don't think you can do it, which you're going to get. Right? And they did it. Now is where they came to. Declaration of Independence, new country, president, Congress, all of that. Is that our highest truth? No, because there's another one. There was the one that said, if we really look at what is going on with the Declaration of Independence, we can't possibly continue to have slaves. And then there was a higher truth. If we really believe in what this Constitution and this Declaration was all about, can we really continue to have women as non-voting members of our community? And even more so as we move ahead, are there bigger and bigger challenges and impossibilities that we are called to face? Yes, there are. And guess what? You all, every one of you all, gets to participate in that. Because guess what? All of you are standing right here in your own freedom. And as you get comfortable with it, you are being called to a new freedom. Now, lest you think you aren't up for this call, I ask you to just look back at your life and think, where have I come from? What baby steps did I take that felt scary? What places did I walk forward, even though it felt impossible? And I said, in God I trust. Because all of you have those stories, so all of you have a degree of faith that will take you into the next one. One of the people that inspires me so totally in my life, second to my husband, is my daughter Scarlett. Would you stand up? Sometimes it just makes me cry to think about, I won't tell you the whole story because the whole story would take me an hour. But when Scarlett was in gymnastics, she decided, she was on a mediocre high school team, not a club team. She was on a team that did okay, and she was like a mediocre gymnast on the mediocre team. You got the picture? And she decided she wanted to go to college. She wanted to go play college. And her coach just looked at her like, oh, really? Because none of his students had ever gone on to college. Well, just to make a long story short, and if you want to know the miracle of it, ask her. Long story short, she competed. Not she was just on the team as what do you call it, fluff, okay? Or just to make the numbers. She was an actual competing member of the team where her numbers counted every single meet. She did that for all 4 years. It was amazing. It was an amazing story. And it was her standing in a place and saying, this is what I want to do. This is what I feel called to do. And she was an incredible inspiration to me and a lot of other people because of that. The other thing is she stepped forward from being a dietitian to running her own clinic because she so believes that people can be healed of certain things through the kinds of things that she offers at her clinic, that she is just standing for that. She is totally standing for the healing of the world. So thank you, Scarlett. Unless you think there are no other examples, we have a new ministry starting here today. It's the recovery ministry. And if Reverend Heather McKenna, is she here? McKenna, Robin, and Brent, stand up because in that call to step forward into this new ministry, there were some places where they felt scared, where they wondered, is this going to go? Can we do this? And together they said, in God we trust. So finally, I also want to tell you about the wealth ministry because that's been my journey for the past 8 months or so, where there's been this idea to have a wealth ministry here. This wealth ministry, at first I thought, I've been teaching prosperity classes for so long, individual prosperity. Is this supposed to be just another name for that? And what I got was Spirit saying, no. No, you are to be a champion an illuminator, and a promoter of the abundant life for all people. You are to be a promoter of everyone holding hands and rising up together without someone saying, well, you have too much, you should have less, and you should give to this person, without there being any laws or regulations about that, where we can all sort of hold hands in consciousness and rise up to a place where we can give our gifts, and be compensated for that, and have this incredible experience of all of us together. And does this seem impossible? Yes. I did not want to accept this. This seems way too impossible. It's an opportunity for certain failure in my mind. But then I have to remember that maybe, just maybe, this was what the signers of the Declaration of Independence thought. Maybe, just maybe, they had a little fear about stepping forward because it felt impossible. But their truth, as my truth is that in God I trust. In God I trust that this is possible. So we have what's called a Wealth Now Salon. And you're all welcome to come. And what I mean by welcome is that if this is your vision of a world where there can be an abundant life for all people, then I invite you to come. This is a ministry where we believe that the individual does have to rise up. It's kind of like put your oxygen mask on first. It's where we have to be abundant first. We have to know and live the principles of abundance in all areas of our life so that we can know them for the rest of the world. So if this is a call to you, then I would love to have you come to and it's at 7 a.m. on a Sunday for a reason. Because when you come on Sunday morning at 7, you're committed. All you 11 o'clock people, you know, oh my God, that would require commitment. So what I want to know is we are drawing, just like the people, all those founding members of the country. It wasn't an open cattle call. Yeah, y'all show up. It's going to be drinks at the tavern. No, what it is if this is your vision, come, we can change the world. So I invite you to check within yourself, not just about the Wealth Now ministry. I invite you to check within yourself, what is calling you? What is calling you? What is calling you to recognize right here where I'm standing, there's some bondage, and I feel called to an expression of freedom. And it scares the bejesus out of me. What are you being called to express as freedom? Yes, Connor, even you. My nephew, Connor, it's his first time ever at this center or at a Center for Spiritual Living at all. Can we all have a hand? Stand up. Just graduated from college a year ago, and I know he's thinking, yeah, man, that was like total freedom. You get to go to the bars and get to do all of this fun stuff, hang around with my friends, do a little work here and there. Is about right? And then he felt a call, and he can't really even tell me where it came from, to go to chiropractic school. Because something within him knew that he could make a difference in the world as a chiropractor. So all I'm saying is that it doesn't matter where you stand, there is always another call for greatness, another call. Every step you take, no matter how small it is another call for greatness. So here's what you're going to do. Everybody, get some kind of challenge that's in your life, a place where you feel a little bit in bondage. and ask yourself, what's the call here for me? Even to take a baby step. What's the call? Because there is a call. Okay, now, what I want you to do is look down for a second. Hold that challenge, that impossibility of it in your mind, and just look down. Notice how you're feeling. Notice how the problem feels, how the impossibility feels. Now, take that same sort of impossibility around this call and look straight ahead. Just kind of look up here at the screen. Look straight ahead. Hold the problem. Notice your body. Notice what happens to the problem. And finally, take your eyes and look up. Look up kind of to where those lights are, where the dove is in back. Just to hold the problem, the impossibility, and look up. What happens to the impossible nature of it? Okay, because we have such a big crowd and very little time, I'm not going to ask you what your experience was, because I know what your experience is. It's some variation of, in fact, I'll ask you to raise your hand. How many of you felt the problem really huge and overpowering when you looked down? Thank you. How many of you felt like when you look straight out, oh my God, there's a little bit of light. There's some possibility that this could happen? And how many of you, when you looked up, felt lighter, like, oh my God, there's got to be the opportunity for us to experience this all together? How many when you looked up? Okay, so that's the first step. Whatever the call is, and whatever the impossible nature of it is, you just look up. That's the first thing. You look up. The second thing you're going to do is just say, in God I trust that this can become my reality. Okay, ready? In God I trust that this can become my reality. Say it one more time, holding your problem in mind. In God I trust that this can become my reality. And if you forget, I was going to make you cheat sheets, but everybody's got a cheat sheet in their pocket. So just take this out and remember, in God I trust, okay? It's got your notes on here. That is your highest truth. In God I trust that this can become my reality. Got it? That's what the signers of the Declaration of Independence said. So, go forth. You have big work to do, and it doesn't have to be done in one step. Remember, you can baby step forward, feeling, every time you start to feel in bondage, ask yourself, what am I being called? What bigger truth am I being called to know? And you can baby step forward. And as you do that, as you know a bigger truth, you will feel more freedom, and you will become a contagion of freedom for the world. You will be like a little virus that affects everyone around you. Because when you feel free, the freedom of God is free to manifest. So let's pray. So I am called with this incredible group of people called Center for Spiritual Living and beyond. I am called to a greater experience of freedom, for freedom is God. And my purpose in life is to ever answer the call to greater and greater expressions of God. Oh, and as that call scares me, as that call feels impossible, as that call is ripe with risk. I step forward and say yes because I trust in God. The truth is, I trust in God. I trust in God that this call can be made manifest. Why? Because it's God that's raising me up. God that is making me able for this. That spirit within that has everything I need in order to make it a reality. Oh, and knowing that this call is not my last call. This is not our last rodeo. We are being called day by day by day to experience more and more greatness, to answer something else, to let go of complacency and safety and take on boldness, power, confidence. For we know that we can trust in God. That is our truth. We are standing by it. We use it daily. And so I give thanks. I give thanks that we can stand here as a community and support each other. To rise up and support each other in this incredible, incredible thing called life. That as we hold our dream, as we hold this call that feels impossible, others will come and say, yes, we can do it together. And so I give great thanks. I give great thanks in this moment that God keeps getting bigger for me. That what I can rely on keeps getting bigger. And so, in gratitude, I just surrender. I surrender to the call. I join each of you in surrendering to the call. For it is good, it is God, and so it is. Amen.
And if you would bring out your financial support to the center, hold it in your hand. If this isn't your Sunday to donate, put your hand on your heart. It is simply a way for us to connect together. And let us go into prayer. And so I know deeply with you that in this place of inner connection, we know the truth of who we truly are. That we are a perfect, evolving, and growing aspect of life. That there's something unique about us that is moving through us out into the world. And we have taken the steps that we can take in this moment to be that. And yet there is more. There is more calling us forward to grow and to be of use and be of assistance in bringing good into this world. And so we're reminded of Reverend Sharon's prayer. In God I trust that this good can become my reality. And so we do this in community so we can see and support and grow together. That we do not need to do any of this alone. We are supported not only in spirit, we are supported by each other in a growing, loving, welcoming community. This community, the center for spiritual living. And so it is in the deepest of joy that I affirm this truth with you in this moment by saying together, and so it is.